And whether we fled famine or war or persecution, whether we had the right documents or connections or skills, whether we were wealthy or poor, we all shared one thing, and that was hope that America would be the place where we could finally build a better life for ourselves and for our children and for future generations. Hope that America is the place where we could make it. That's what makes us Americans. It's not what we look like. It's not what our last name is. It's not where we come from. It's not how we pray. What makes us American is a shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal. All of us have a chance to make our lives what we will. For generations, America by choice and Americans by birth have come together to renew that common creed and move this country forward. That brought us to this moment. That is the legacy that we now have to deliver to the next generation. Thank you, Nevada. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
You've been listening to President Obama in Las Vegas, Nevada, laying his cards on the table for his go-it-alone immigration plan. Let's welcome our viewers in the U.S. and around the world. I'm Jake Tapper. This is The Lead. President Obama just finished telling the crowd at Del Sol High School in Las Vegas he did what Congress would not, shielding up to 5 million undocumented immigrants from deportation. CNN national correspondent Suzanne Malveaux is in the room where the president just spoke. Suzanne, what was the reaction like in the room there? It sounded like there was some heckling of some sort.
Yeah, let me explain that to you, Jake, because obviously it's a very controversial executive order. For a lot of the folks in this room, they are very friendly to this president. They came out in 2008. They came out last year as well to hear his immigration policy. They're very excited and happy, at least the young folks, as soon as I talk to, that their parents possibly will have an opportunity not to be deported for at least 3 years. But what you heard from a young man in the audience who was shouting at the president, it was a back and forth that lasted for a couple of minutes. He was not satisfied with what the president has done. There's some people in the room who do not think that the president went far enough. It doesn't apply to a lot of the frustrated young students who want to see a very clear path to citizenship. That's one group that's frustrated. Other people are thinking this is way too late, too little, too late. They've been asking for this president to act for some time, for years now, and he is just getting around to what they believe could have happened years ago. It also doesn't allow, Jake, those who've lost their parents, who have been deported, who are in Mexico right now. I talked to a young man outside who was in line, who had attended the president's speech just last year, and he gave me such an emotional story about his own family. His mother, who is an undocumented worker in this country, 8 months pregnant, and he is so happy. He's thrilled that at least she is protected by this executive order. But then he told me the flip side of it is it was just last week that his father was deported after going to the Walmart to pick up some things for his younger brother and got stopped by the police. So you can understand there's a sense of exhilaration, but also anxiety and frustration from the people inside of this room, some of the president's greatest supporters, Jake.
All right, Suzanne Malveaux with President Obama in Las Vegas, Nevada. Republicans, of course, have already let loose a hailstorm of criticism over the president's announcement. CNN chief congressional correspondent Dana Bash joins us. Dana, now that Republicans have had about 20 hours to think on the president's speech, to go over what he's actually proposing, what are they saying about what they're going to do? A lot of them, if not all of them, want to stop him in some way.
They do, and there's no shortage of comments about the way that he did this being imperialistic, about being like an emperor. But they don't know the answer to that question. They don't know how they're going to do it. And the reason is because there are no good ways to deal with what the president has done. The best tool, the sharpest tool in Congress's shed is the power of the purse. But A, they don't want to shut down the government, I think, across the board. And B, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would stop what the president is doing, because immigration policy of this kind is mostly paid for by customs fees. So Congress doesn't even pay for that. It seems as though the idea that has the most support is taking the president to court. And they think that they've had success in the past on other issues with the courts, so that's probably going to be the best venue. But the idea of the Republican leadership trying to sort of beat back conservatives who are really kind of foaming at the mouth, wanting to be aggressive and be as aggressive as soon as possible, that's going to be the challenge for Republican leaders right now, because there is no immediate way to deal with this.
All right, Dana Bash, thank you so much. I want to go right to CNN political commentators Ana Navarro and Stephanie Cutter, also Ramesh Ponnuru, senior editor for the National Review. Thank you so much, one and all, for being here. And do you think that this provision, what President Obama says he is doing, will get these people, these specific, I guess it's about 5 million undocumented immigrants who are parents of legal residents or citizens, will it get them out of the shadows, or are a lot of them going to remain there?
I think a lot of them will come out of the shadows. I suspect the majority will come out of the shadows because even though this is not a permanent solution, even though this is not a path to legalization of any way, it is a huge protection. And they know that not coming out of the shadows means that at any moment they could be subject to deportation. And at that moment, it's too late to apply. So this is the chance, and I think a lot of them will do so. You know, it's been interesting to me, Dana, that Republicans have complained bitterly about the way this was done. But I've heard very little about the merits and the substance of the executive order. I haven't heard people, because there's a lot of other things in this executive order beyond the 5 million, protected from deportation. I haven't heard as much criticism by far about what's in the order as about how it was done and that it exceeds his authority.
Ramesh, I want to ask you, a lot of the Republican hopefuls, the presidential hopefuls for 2016, are condemning this. All of them are condemning it, as Anna says, for the executive overreach in their view. Some of them are condemning the specifics, but that's a minority compared to the executive overreach. Do you think any of the Republican hopefuls will actually say, when I'm a president, I will undo what President Obama did? In other words, it's very easy in Washington to give things. It's very difficult in this town to take them away from the American people or citizens in this country or residents of this country.
I suspect you will see Republican presidential candidates saying they are not going to renew this status without congressional authorization. You're right that the biggest line of criticism has been about the way this was done, and most conservatives think that's more objectionable than the actual substance of it.
And Stephanie, this is a political risk for President Obama because although it is certainly something that a lot of Latino voters seem to like, and that's an important constituency, it does risk alienating those white middle-class voters that President Obama and Democrats have struggled to get to vote for them in some states in the past.
I think that there's political risk on both sides on how both sides are handling this issue. But if you even just look at the latest exit polls from the election just a couple of weeks ago, 57% of the American people said that they wanted a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants.
Right,
and
although they oppose the president doing it this way.
But they also, when you ask them, should the president do it in this way if Congress refuses to act, the numbers go way up. So I think the bottom line is that the American people want action. They want somebody to solve the problem. And this is a first step towards doing that. All
right, President Obama out there trying to make the case for something that right now the American people object in terms of the way he did it, not the specifics of what he did. Ana Navarro, Ramesh Ponnuru, Stephanie Cutter, thank you so much. Republicans are not wasting any time hammering the president's immigration plan, some even threatening lawsuits, censure, impeachment. My next guest, former Senator Rick Santorum, says the plan is a slap in the face to the democratic process. What would he do differently? We'll talk to him next.